This is Norwell Central coming back at you with another YouTube video, and I really do appreciate all the love and the support so far. This is my third straight day of recording. Can you believe that? Now, I will say the last two videos that I've had, they've done pretty decent for the most part. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, share the channel with other people. I really do appreciate all the love and support, especially on my social media accounts that I have. I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever the case is. You want it, you got it. I just want to build a positive Florida State community. And I know Florida State football has been down for quite some time at this point, having six losing seasons in 8 years, and they're just trying to get back to the top. But I want to address something. There was a post I actually made on all my social media accounts recently, and it was describing the Alabama versus Florida State spread. Now, obviously, the Alabama and Florida State game last year was one of the biggest moments of Florida State's 2025 season. The problem is they ended up winning that opener. They won against East Texas A&M and Kent State, and then they lost seven of their last nine. So you're kind of figuring out what you have because you looked at it. After Florida State beat them 31 to 17 at home in Doak Campbell Stadium, newly renovated, Tommy Castellanos actually made those comments saying, Nick Saban can't save them now, and it was a big ordeal. And I know that the media absolutely ate that up. And I understand that too because you look at it. Florida State's been down. They want some type of spark. You coming off a 2-10 season. Mike Norvell was kind of on the hot seat. He still technically is on the hot seat right now at this point. What are you going to do to respond to that? And Florida State did a phenomenal job. I mean, coming out, you're looking at that 10-play drive they had early on in the game, very first drive to make it 7-0. You're like, oh gosh, here we go again. What are we going to do? And then Squirrel White has the catch of his life, the 41-yard catch to on a third down that Tommy Castellanos put it in the best spot possible. And the rest was history. I mean, this defense absolutely just played up to its potential and what it probably should have been all year. You had the end arounds with Makai Danzy. You had Jalen Lucas getting involved a little bit there too. And the biggest kind of question mark that you saw all year was Deuce Robinson wasn't really a factor in this game. He had like two catches for like 18 yards. And Earl Whittle was huge. I know he's off to Ohio State. And then I know Cryer also played a pretty decent game as well, linebacker. Now he's at Texas. So you're looking at those guys and you're seeing Alabama. And yes, Alabama's replacing a little bit of starters now. You got either Austin Mack or Keelan Russell. I wonder who they're going to be able to play at quarterback. I think they're probably going to go with the younger option, Russell. But then you got to figure out your running game. Your running game was awful last year if you're Alabama, but you're playing them in Tuscaloosa. And the biggest thing I wonder about is, Florida State's inability to win road games. You look at the last road game that they had, that was a win, was back in November of 2023 against Florida. That was when you had Tate Rodemaker at quarterback under center because of the Jordan Travis injury. So I say this all because when I made the post about the DraftKings being able to have a 15.5 point spread of Florida State being an underdog, that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was really my comment that I had made saying this game is meaningless. And the reason I say it's meaningless is because you start out with New Mexico State. Then you turn around and you have SMU, which is a huge game on Labor Day night in Doak Campbell Stadium. You have this bye week and then you play Alabama. Everybody thinks, oh man, you got to beat SMU and you got to beat Alabama. Well, look at last year. Look at what you did. You ended up going 3-0 and then you lose 7 of your last 9. That's not going to cut it. And Mike Norvell, specifically when he deals with adversity in his teams the last couple of years, they haven't been able to reach anything. I mean, you look at the Virginia game on the road. I mean, it was double overtime at that point. You're trying to figure out different ways, and you kept responding, fighting back, and you couldn't do it. And then it seemed like after that loss, it just felt like, oh gosh, what are we going to do now? Our title hopes are up in the air. We thought we would be a lot better. Why did we lose to this team? And obviously, Virginia was a good team, basically, and they made the ACC championship. But I just wonder if Florida State's going to be able to respond from those adverse moments. What happens if you lose to SMU and then you lose to Alabama? And then you're kind of going on a rough stretch there. But I mean, you do have, the Central Arkansas, you do have a rematch for Virginia at home before you play at Louisville. And I really think because it's meaningless, it's because you have to really beat in that 3-game stretch of at Louisville on a Friday night. You turn and you play at Miami, regardless of what that crowd's going to be. They always show up for the Florida State and Miami game. And then you have that off week, and then you play Clemson on Halloween night in Doak Campbell Stadium. Those 3 games right there are massive. And you cannot understate the fact that, yes, after that 3-game stretch, then if you're not doing well there, you turn and you play at Boston College and at Pitt. I mean, you're having a huge road trip where you're having to go all the way down there. Not to say these teams are great in terms of Pittsburgh, who beat you last year, and also Boston College, but you have to be able to set yourself up nicely. And I think that's the more meaningful game and stretch that you have there. So let's just say, for example, you win against New Mexico State, which I cannot underestimate this enough. I understand. I was in the stands for Jacksonville State. I was in the Jacksonville State section whenever Jacksonville State defeated Florida State in Doak Campbell Stadium. I understand the pain. I get it. I understand everyone wanted Mike Norvell fired, and I want to be supportive of this coach. It's not just because of the name. I'm a true fan. I want to see Florida State be successful, whether that's with or without Mike Norvell. But I do say that Florida State's got to win some of these games. They got to win some of these marquee games. You got to win on the road. So if you go to Louisville, you have to beat Louisville on the road. You have to do it. And I think this is a big factor is because you have to win 2 out of the 3 even to have a chance at the end of the year. Because here's the thing. If you end up beating SMU and you end up beating Alabama, but then you lose 3 straight to Louisville, Miami, and Clemson, how do you think you're going to feel? Is that game really that meaningful at that point? But let's just say you beat SMU, you lose to Alabama, and you win 2 out of the 3. I think that's actually a decent trade-off. I do think that gives you a lot of confidence in that factor. And then you go into Boston College and you're hopefully able to beat them. And then you got to go to Pitt to play the Friday night game. And then you got 2 games at home to close out the year with NC State and Florida. Obviously, I want to tell you this too. Every game is meaningful. You want to go 12-0. You want to be successful. And we cannot have this loser mindset of it not being meaningful. But Florida State wants to be able to be competitive in their conference. They're wanting to be able to have that adjustment to where they can get back in the conversation of the Miami, the Clemson, the other teams like that. But you have to think about it. The ACC championship last year was Virginia and Duke. Virginia and Duke. I mean, those are not teams that are going to wow you. Even Miami a couple years ago, and they still haven't won an ACC championship. You have to figure out ways to be successful. You have to win ACC games. You have to win on the road. So obviously, I can tell you all day about beating Boston College, who is not a very good team this year. But you look at it, at Boston College, Florida State's not really been the greatest in terms of that. It's in November. It's going to be a little bit colder. You know, you got at Miami, so I know that's going to be a tougher game. They probably have the talent level deficiency against you because they've recruited so well, and that's Florida State's detriment right there. But you look at a game like at Louisville, you have to win. You have to win at Boston College. I mean, you have to win, those games. And you have to do it at a certain point. This coaching staff, if they want to stick around in Tallahassee, they have to be able to do it. But I do think I'm not wanting to say that this game is meaningless because I do understand that beating Alabama would be a great feat, especially a 3:30 game on ABC. Everybody's watching again to see if Alabama can get their revenge, and all their fan base is saying we're going to get our revenge and do all that. But I just know that Florida State has got to look at the bigger picture. They cannot let this game snowball them or let them go off to high hopes at this point. Because if Florida State's able to beat them, they can't just act arrogant the rest of the year and then kind of figure out a way to win. Regardless, they can't let this loss affect them either. So really, I think it's just meaningless in terms of that. But I'm saying in terms of the impact, it is meaningful because you want to be successful with everything else going on. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I know I had a poor word choice, but I wanted to kind of clarify that as we go through here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to message me. Feel free to comment, like the video, share your thoughts on everything. And as always, go Noles.